Okay, right. Let's dive in. We are unpacking something truly wild today. The whole paradox of speedrunning video games. Specifically, we're looking at the huge, beautifully broken worlds of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas.
Exactly. And you send over this mountain of sources,
Yeah.
forum posts, glitch wikis, runner commentary, and they all kind of circle this one big weird question.
Which is?
How in the absolute hell do you take a game like Fallout 3, a massive RPG known for, wandering the wasteland for like 100 hours, exploring, fighting mutants?
Yeah, building your character, all that stuff.
Right. How do you take that game and beat it in under 14 minutes? And maybe even weirder, why do so many people who watch that 14-minute run say it's, and I quote, one of the most boring things I've ever watched? It's fascinating.
It really is. It's this perfect storm, isn't it? The clash between, like, what the game wants you to do, explore, survive, follow the story, and what the fastest possible way to finish forces you to do.
Which is basically to weaponize every single flaw, every crack in the game's engine.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. Part 1, anyway. First, we're going to really dig into that core criticism, why the fastest Fallout runs can feel, well, boring to watch.
Understand the disappointment, basically.
Exactly. Then we pivot. We're going to do a huge technical breakdown of the absolutely absurd glitches that make these runs possible. We're talking reload dashing, void warps, time stops, the whole glorious mess.
And it's crucial to understand the fastest category, any percent. It's not about playing Fallout in any traditional sense. It's not about experiencing the Capital Wasteland or the Mojave.
No way.
It's about taking the Gamebryo engine, which, let's be honest, is held together with duct tape and hope.
Ha! Pretty much.
And treating it less like a game world and more like a physics puzzle that needs to be mathematically demolished. These runs redefine gameplay. It's pure input sequence mastery. Frame-perfect button presses.
It's almost like performance art against a buggy engine.
That's a great way to put it, is human persistence versus flawed code. And, honestly, kind of beautiful in its own weird way.
All right, so let's start with that friction point, the viewer experience, the sources you send. They don't mince words. People are genuinely frustrated.
Yeah, you see it constantly in comments on forums. Fallout 3, any percent is the most boring run. It pops up again and again. And you gotta ask, okay, why? This is a world record. Shouldn't it be exciting?
Well, it comes down to expectations, right? When you tune into, say, Games Done Quick, or you watch a popular speedrunner, what are you looking for?
You're looking for visible skill, usually. You want to see clever strategies, maybe some really creative, low-level play where they just barely survive.
Or intense boss fights, like how did they beat that monster with basically no gear? That's exciting.
Exactly. The sources mention other games like Super Mario RPG. People love watching those runs.
Why? What's the difference there?
Because the strategy is obvious. You see the runner doing something clever, they're maybe manipulating enemy encounters to get just enough XP, or they're selling specific items to afford like 10 bombs right before a boss that lets them skip a huge fight.
Okay, so you see the planning payoff immediately. Resource management under pressure.
Precisely. Or that famous example in Mario RPG, where the runner has to perfectly time 100 consecutive jumps on an enemy named Johnny.
100 jumps, why?
It sounds nuts, right?
Yeah.
But it's not about killing him faster. It's because hitting exactly 100 jumps triggers something that skips a later cutscene, saving time down the road. It's this incredibly creative, non-obvious optimization. You see the setup, you understand the payoff, it's compelling.
Right, gotcha. Now, contrast that visible strategy with what the sources say about Fallout any percent. What do you actually see in that run?
Well, according to the critiques, you mostly see a bunch of walking, then jumping around out of bounds.
Out of bounds, so like outside the normal game area.
Yeah, clipping through walls, falling through the floor into the void, basically navigating the untextured gray hellscape behind the game world.
Okay.
And the rest of the time. It's intense menuing, opening the Pip-Boys, swapping weapons, equipping, unequipping. Very fast, very precise, but visually, it just looks like someone frantically messing with menus.
And crucially, the sources point out there's basically no confrontation of enemies, no fighting.
Almost none. You're actively avoiding the core gameplay loops of an RPG, combat, dialogue, exploration. The lone wanderer or the courier in these runs, they don't look like Wasteland heroes. They look like, well, like a physics object being violently flung around by menu commands.
So for someone who just casually tunes in, expecting Fallout, they see someone running sideways through a wall texture for 5 seconds, then fiddling in a menu.
Yeah.
It's disconnected.
Completely disconnected. You see, when a Mario runner nails a frame-perfect jump, you see them land on that tiny platform. The cause and effect are clear. The skill is visible.
But with Fallout, any percent.
When a Fallout runner executes reload dashing, which we'll get into it, is this terrifyingly complex sequence of maybe 6 or 7 button presses in like a quarter of a second.
Okay.
The visual result is often just whoosh.
Yeah.
They fly forward or sideways really fast, maybe clipping through some geometry. The immense technical skill involved is almost invisible unless you know exactly what arcane engine exploit they're triggering.
The skill is divorced from the spectacle.
Perfectly put. The complaint isn't that the runner isn't skilled. Oh my god, this skill is insane. It's just that the skill is almost entirely about manipulating the physics engine via menus, not mastering the game's intended mechanics like shooting or sneaking or talking.
If you came to watch Fallout, you probably wanted to see someone outsmart a super mutant or talk their way past a guard.
Right? Exactly. Not watch someone, abuse the inventory screen to achieve Mach 5.
Okay, but then the runner's defense. This is where it gets interesting. If any percent is so visually lacking, why not just run a different category, like glitchless? Or no out of bounds. Give the people the tactical gameplay they want.
But here's the counter-argument from the people who actually run the game.
Yeah.
And frankly, anyone who's played vanilla Fallout 3 or New Vegas will probably agree.
Which is?
The games are slow. Painfully slow. The community consensus, backed up by the source docs, is that Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are really slow-paced.
And they don't just mean the story takes a while, they mean physically moving around.
Precisely. These are enormous open worlds built on an engine, Gamebryo, that just wasn't designed for rapid traversal. It struggles. Load times between areas are long. Character movement speed is, well, it's pedestrian.
So a glitchless run
Would involve hours.
Yeah.
And hours of just walking slowly across pretty repetitive landscapes sometimes, following quest markers, backtracking, sitting through load screens.
Imagine trying to optimize that. You're not finding cool strats. You're finding the mathematically straightest line between 2 points and holding W.
It would be incredibly tedious, not just for the viewer, but for the runner trying to shave seconds off a 4-hour walk. It's soul-crushing.
So the argument is you have to break the game.
Pretty much. The consensus seems to be, to actually have fun optimizing and competing in Fallout speedruns, you need ways to bypass that inherent slowness. You have to break the game until there's nothing left.
The speed itself becomes the reward for mastering the engine's jank.
Exactly. It shifts the optimization challenge from tedious traversal to mastering these complex, albeit visually weird, input techniques.
And the result of mastering that jank, what's the actual time?
It's genuinely mind-blowing. For Fallout 3, any percent, the world record, as of when these sources were current, was hovering right around 13 minutes and 50 seconds.
1350. For a game that easily takes 100 hours, that's absurd.
It is. And the margin for error is non-existent. The difference between first and second place might be 2 or 3 seconds, maybe less.
So one tiny mistake in one of those complex input sequences.
And the run's dead. Or you lose 5 seconds, which is basically the same thing at that level. So you can call the visual result boring, maybe? But you absolutely cannot deny the insane level of technical precision and consistency required.
They have to perform dozens of these frame-perfect exploits flawlessly back-to-back without hitting one of the, 1,000 ways the Gamebryo engine just loves to crash.
Yingo. It's high-wire neurosurgery on a buggy piece of software.
Okay, so we have this dilemma, right? Any percent is unbelievably fast, technically demanding, but maybe not the most thrilling spectator sport.
Right. And glitchless is potentially more engaging from a gameplay perspective, but it's agonizingly long and maybe just as boring in a different way. The watching paint dry kind of boring.
So the speedrunning community, being clever folks, they start defining other ways to compete. Categories that try to find a middle ground.
Exactly. They shift the goalposts away from pure speed achieved by breaking physics and towards speed achieved through clever routing, game knowledge, and, actually playing the game systems. Mostly.
So what kind of alternative categories do the sources mention?
We got the obvious restrictions like glitchless or no out of bounds, which we've established are usually super long.
Right, niche appeal maybe.
Then you get into completionist goals, things that force interaction with the world, like all bobbleheads in Fallout 3.
Ah, the little collectibles. So that forces you to actually go to specific, often tricky locations.
Exactly. You have to route efficiently to grab all 20 stat-boosting bobbleheads scattered across the map. It requires exploration, some platforming, maybe even specific lockpicking or science skills. It tests map knowledge.
Okay, that sounds more like playing Fallout. What else?
All DLC runs. These can get really complex because each DLC adds its own map, quests, and sometimes unique mechanics, or crucially, unique glitches.
Like the Punga strat we'll get to later.
Precisely. Stuff like that often comes out of DLC routing. And then you have the big one, the marathon category, all quests.
All quests?
Often bundled into what's called 100%, which might mean all main quests, all side quests, all DLC quests, all bobbleheads, basically do everything.
Yeah, that sounds like a serious test of game mastery, not just engine abuse.
Absolutely. This is where you see deep strategic planning, understanding quest triggers, dialogue options, NPC routines, everything.
Let's dig into that all-quest run for Fallout 3, because the discussion around estimating the time for it really highlights the sheer scale you're fighting against.
Oh yeah. So Fallout 3 has, what, around 30-ish main and significant side quests required for an all-quest definition, give or take, depending on the exact rule set.
Okay. And the initial kind of optimistic hope.
Someone floated the idea, hey, if you could average like 5 minutes per quest, which sounds reasonable on paper, right?
Yeah, 30 quests times 5 minutes, 150 minutes, 2.5 hours. That sounds like a great speedrun length. Competitive, watchable.
Right. That was the dream. But then the experienced runners, the ones who know the suffering of wasteland travel, they chimed in.
Let me guess. Not gonna happen.
Pretty much. They pointed out, hey, these quests aren't simple. They have multiple parts. They involve tons of dialogue. And even with fast travel, there's still a lot of just moving across the map. Loading screens add up.
So the realistic estimate started climbing?
Fast. People started saying, nah, it's getting closer to 4 hours. Then someone else goes, maybe 5. I think one source had a comment like, let's just pray it's not 6 hours plus.
Wow. So even when you're optimizing everything you can, you're still wrestling with the fundamental size and structure of the game world.
Absolutely. Which means the type of optimization changes completely compared to any percent.
How so?
In all quests, you're not focused on frame-perfect menu glitches for movement. You're focused on route efficiency, yes, but also on character build optimization.
Like which skills to level up.
Exactly. Which skills with perks to take, which magazines to read for temporary boosts, which pieces of gear give you +1 speech or +5 science. Because often, the fastest way to complete a quest objective isn't fighting your way through, it's passing a single high-skill dialogue check.
Ah, okay. So dialogue strategy replaces combat planning.
In many cases, yes. It becomes a resource management game where your resources are skill points and dialogue options.
Give us an example. The sources mention one notorious quest.
Moira Brown, the Wasteland Survival Guide. Oh God, Moira.
Everyone who's played Fallout 3 knows that quest. It takes forever normally, right? Sending you all over the place.
It's infamous. In a casual playthrough, you're looking at easily 25 minutes or more. Go injure yourself, go get irradiated, go explore a mine full of mole rats. It's a whole saga.
But in an all-quests speedrun...
10 seconds, maybe less.
Wow.
High speech skill. If your speech skill is high enough, right when you first meet her, there's a dialogue option basically saying, Moira, this book idea is insane. You're going to get people killed. Just stop.
And she just gives up.
If you pass the check, yeah. She agrees the wasteland is too dangerous, abandons the project, quest complete. You skip the entire 25-minute ordeal with one click.
That's brilliant. So the challenge becomes, how do I route my character progression to have that high speech skill exactly when I first walk into Megatech?
Precisely. That's the strategic depth.
Yeah.
It's about hitting those critical skill thresholds at the exact moment you need them for maximum time save. You're planning your build dozens of steps ahead.
Okay, that makes sense. And the strategic item skill focus gets even crazier in the DLC runs, right? You mentioned the Punga Fork strat.
Oh, the Punga Fork strat. A masterpiece of degenerate gameplay. This is for the Point Lookout DLC.
Point Lookout, the spooky swamp place.
Hmm?
Okay. What's the strat?
There's a quest, the main tonic quest, that normally involves a lot of backtracking through this big hotel, finding keys, navigating locked areas. It's long.
Standard Bethesda fare.
Right. But there's a key door you're not supposed to be able to get through until much later. The Punga Fork strat lets you bypass it almost immediately.
Using punga fruit, like the weird swamp fruit,
Yeah.
and a regular dinner fork.
You got it. It relies on item clipping, basically manipulating the physics of dropped items to push your character through solid objects.
Okay, walk me through this absurdity.
You go up to the locked door, you drop the punga fruit right near the corner of the door frame. The punga fruit has a specific size and collision box that's important.
Right.
Then you equip a fork. You use the game's grab manipulant function, holding ease usually to pick up the fork, and you use the fork to physically push the punga fruit against the doorframe scene.
You're using a fork to push a fruit.
Stay with me. While pushing the fruit into that tiny gap between the door and the wall, You wiggle around, maybe switch between first and third person view. And if you get the angle just right,
Don't tell me.
the combination of the fruit's collision box being forced into the scene by the fork's pressure, combined with your own character model bumping against it, can cause the physics engine to freak out momentarily, and you just pop through the door. You clip straight through the geometry.
You phase through a locked door using swamp fruit and cutlery.
Welcome to Fallout speedrunning. It saves several minutes on the quest.
That's not just optimizing a route, that's like reverse engineering the collision physics of individual food items.
It is.
Ah.
It's understanding the game on a level the developers surely never intended. It shows that in these longer, more complex categories, the optimization relies on exploiting everything. Mundane item physics become tools for sequence breaking. It's brilliant in a really, really dumb way.
Beautifully dumb, I like it.
Okay, so that perfectly sets up the next stage. We know why runners break the game. It's too damn slow otherwise. And we know the alternative categories involve deep strategic planning, like using forks as lockpicks.
Right. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of how that 13-minute any percent run is even possible. How do you move that fast? How do you skip entire sections?
It all comes down to a core set of engine exploits. Glitches, bugs, unintended consequences of how the Gamebryo engine handles physics, animations, and menus. And because Fallout 3 and New Vegas share that same engine heritage.
They share a lot of the same broken tools.
Exactly. Gamebryo is the gift that keeps on giving, glitches. A lot of these revolve around opening the Pip-Boy. That wrist-mounted computer is not just your inventory.
It's the magic pause button that confuses the hell out of the game's physics.
Pretty much. Opening the Pip-Boy freezes the game world, state enemies stop, projectiles freeze. But crucially, sometimes the engine is still trying to finish calculating movement or an animation that was happening right when you opened it. And that mismatch, that's where the magic happens.
Okay, movement first, the big one. The absolute cornerstone of any percent runs.
Reload dashing. If you watch an any percent run, you'll see the character constantly stuttering forward in these impossible bursts of speed. That's reload dashing.
How does it work? It's tied to weapon reloading, obviously.
Yeah. It exploits a specific glitched interaction during the reload animation cycle of certain weapons. The .357 revolver is a classic choice, especially in New Vegas because it reloads bullets one by one. That gives you a slightly bigger window.
A window for what?
A window to interrupt the animation in a very specific way that tricks the engine into giving you massive temporary velocity. It's what engineers call a race condition.
Explain that like I'm 5.
Okay, imagine the game tries to do two things at once. Thing A is starting the reload animation, which involves applying a little burst of internal speed or force related to the gun movement. Thing B is you, the player, smashing buttons to interrupt that animation before it finishes normally.
Right.
If you interrupt it at just the right microsecond, using the Pip-Boy menu, the game gets confused. It already committed to applying that initial burst of speed from Thing A, but because you cancel the animation with Thing B, it doesn't properly normalize or remove that speed.
So the speed boost just sticks, but it shouldn't.
Exactly. It applies that massive short-duration velocity calculation directly onto your character's movement, even though the animation that was supposed to use it got canceled. The result is a huge instant lurch, forward or sideways, depending on your movement input.
Okay, that makes sense conceptually, but the inputs, the sources describe them as a horror show.
Oh, they are. It's not one button press. It's a rapid-fire sequence chained together over and over while moving. Typically, it's something like double tap your ammo swap key, like 2 really fast, instantly hit the Pip-Boy key, F2 or tab, immediately hit your fire button, left mouse button, to initiate the reload animation you're about to cancel. Then, while the Pip-Boy is up, use your directional keys or mouse to select the weapon you're holding, hit enter to effectively equip it, and then close the Pip-Boy tab.
Whoa, hang on. Double tap ammo, Pip-Boy, fire, select weapon, enter, close Pip-Boy. All in, what, a fraction of a second?
Yeah, maybe a quarter of a second, maybe less.
Yeah.
While holding a direction key to move, and you have to do this repeatedly, maybe dozens or hundreds of times in a run.
That's not playing a game. That's high-speed data entry while dodging invisible walls.
It's intense finger gymnastics. And if you mess up the timing on any part of that sequence, you might just stop dashing, lose all your speed.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Crash the game.
Very possible. The engine does not like being abused like this.
And there's this weird hardware thing too, like you need a good PC.
Yeah, the hardware constraint. This is wild. Reload dashing actually works better if your game is running at a smooth, stable 60 frames per second.
Why?
Because the game's physics calculations are often tied to the frame rate. At 60 FPS, The timing window for interrupting that reload animation is slightly different and apparently more forgiving or effective than at, say, 30 FPS.
So if your PC is struggling and dipping frame,
Your dashes will literally be shorter. You won't travel as far with each input sequence. It means, bizarrely, that having a more powerful computer can directly translate into faster movement times via this glitch. The game is literally faster on better hardware in a way the developers never intended.
that's messed up. Okay, so reload dashing is the current king. But it had an ancestor, right? Speed cripple.
Speed cripple. The OG movement glitch, now mostly obsolete for top runs, but foundational. It was beautifully simple, conceptually.
How'd it work? It involved crippling your legs. Sounds painful.
It was. But worth it for the speed. See, when your legs get crippled in Fallout, the game hits you with a big speed penalty, like cut your speed by maybe 50% or 60%.
Right, you limp around slowly.
But when you heal your legs using a stim pack or whatever the game has to add that speed back, Speed Cripple exploited the timing of that healing calculation using quick save, quick load. QSQL.
Okay, QSQL abuse. Classic Bethesda.
Totally. So the runner would intentionally cripple their legs, usually by taking a carefully calculated fall from a specific height. Then, at the exact micro instant that the leg crippled message popped up on screen,
They'd mash quick load.
exactly. Quick loading instantly resets your character's status to healthy. But because the game had already started the calculation to add the speed back from the healing process before the quick load interrupted it.
Well, let me guess. It adds the speed back to your already healthy character.
Bingo. The game adds the plus 50% or plus 60% speed restoration onto your normal uncrippled movement speed. Result: permanent. 150% or 160% movement speed for the rest of the run. It was a clean hack of the game's state management.
So why is it obsolete? Sounds pretty good.
Because reload dashing is simply faster and more versatile, offering bigger bursts of speed. And crucially, the two glitches are incompatible.
How so?
Reload dashing relies on the normal running animation to initiate the dash sequence. But when your legs are crippled for speed cripple, you use that slow limping animation. You physically can't perform the reload dash inputs while your legs are crippled.
So you have to choose the permanent but slower speed cripple or the faster input-intensive reload dashing.
And for any percent, speed wins. So reload dashing took over, making speed cripple a relic of the past for the fastest category.
Okay, but there's one more level of movement absurdity, right? Something even crazier than reload dashing.
Oh yes, the final form, infinite dashing. This is where you basically achieve uncontrolled flight.
Flight, like Superman style.
Kinda, more like strapping an unstable rocket to your back and aiming vaguely forward. Infinite dashing takes the reload dashing principle, but finds a way to make the massive velocity boost permanent, or at least sustainable for long distances.
How the hell do you make that permanent?
It's unbelievably complex and requires specific gear, usually a grenade launcher and the trusty revolver, and immaculate timing with QSQL again.
Okay, lay it on me.
The runner needs to fire a grenade, usually straight up or slightly ahead, then immediately swap to the revolver, perform the reload dashing input sequence we already discussed, pull up the Pip-Boy, and then time a quick save and immediate quick load at the exact frame the grenade they fired explodes nearby.
Wait, QSQL during the explosion and the reload dash?
Simultaneously. The explosion creates this huge physics impulse, jostling the player model. The QSQL needs to happen right then, catching the character state while under the combined influence of the explosion physics and the reload dash velocity boost.
That sounds basically impossible.
It's incredibly difficult, and you need high agility. The sources say 5 or more, because higher agility actually makes certain animation windows slightly longer, giving you maybe an extra frame or two to hit the QSQL timing.
So agility isn't for shooting better, it's for glitching better.
In this context, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you nail it, the QSQL saves your state with that insane velocity locked in.
And the result is flight.
Pretty much sustained high-speed horizontal movement. You essentially fly across the map, over mountains, skipping huge chunks of terrain, but it's incredibly unstable.
So?
Because you're moving so fast that the game engine literally cannot load the world chunks ahead of you quickly enough. You'll see the world ahead just disappear into low detail models or the void.
Oh crap, so you can just fly into unloaded nothingness.
Easily. Which usually crashes the game. So runners using infinite dashing have to constantly QSQL in midair to sort of force chunk loading, manage momentum, and avoid crashing, and hope they don't accidentally hit the ground, which can also cause issues or stop the dash. It's control chaos at ludicrous speed. Okay, so that covers making your character move at impossible speeds. But speedrunners also need ways to bypass physical barriers and manipulate the game system itself.
Right, getting through locked doors or skipping entire areas without just flying over them.
Exactly. And the most fundamental way to skip huge map sections relies on the engine basically giving up. This is the COSI warp, or void warp.
COSI, what's that stand for?
Center on cell. It's an internal engine command, and also the name for the game's absolute final fail-safe mechanism if it completely loses track of where you are.
How does that happen?
By falling out of bounds.
Oh.
B. If you manage to clip through the floor or a wall and fall into the endless gray void underneath the playable map, the game engine eventually realizes, this player character is not in a valid location anymore, they're in the abyss.
It panics.
Pretty much. Its failsafe is to say, okay, I don't know where they are, so I'm just going to teleport them to the default spawn point for the cell or area they were supposed to be in. That predetermined point is the center on cell, the COSI coordinate.
So a feature designed to rescue players who accidentally glitch through the floor.
It gives a strategic tool for speedrunners. They intentionally find ways to clip OOB in specific locations. For example, inside a large building like the Ultralux Casino in New Vegas. Because navigating the casino normally takes time. Lots of corridors, elevators, maybe some quest triggers. But if you find a spot inside where you can reliably clip through the floor and fall into the void.
The COSI warp kicks in and spits you out somewhere useful.
Often, yes. The default COSI spawn point for that interior cell might be right near the final objective, or maybe near the exit door, completely bypassing all the intended navigation. You weaponize the engine's error handling. It's exploiting the game's garbage collection, essentially.
That's beautifully lazy. I approve. Okay, what about more? Surgical clipping. Getting through just one wall or door.
For that, you often use third-person interaction, or TPI. This is a much lower-tech method, relying on camera angles.
How does the camera help you get through a wall?
It's about where the game thinks your interaction point is. See, the invisible box or raycast that determines what you can click on or activate. In Gamebryo, especially when you switch to third-person view, that interaction point is tied more closely to the camera's position and angle, not strictly to your character model's physical location.
Ah, okay, so you can kind of poke the interaction box through the wall with the camera?
Exactly. You stand right up against the wall or door you want to bypass, switch to third-person view, then you carefully angle the camera, looking slightly past the edge of the wall.
Wiggling the mouse around?
Pretty much. If you get the angle just right, the interaction point extends just far enough through the wall geometry. And if there's something interactive on the other side, a button, a computer terminal, maybe even an NPC you need to talk to.
Like Mr. House trapped in his containment chamber in New Vegas.
The classic example. You can use TPI to activate the terminal to open his chamber from the outside without needing the key or the high science skill to hack it. You interact with it right through the supposedly solid wall.
So you're bypassing locks, skill checks, entire sections just by manipulating the camera perspective.
Yep, it replaces combat or puzzle solving with spatial awareness and fiddly camera work.
Okay, now for system abuse. Messing with time itself. You mentioned time stop. That sounds powerful.
It is powerful, but also incredibly dangerous for the run. It actively freezes almost everything in the game world around you.
How do you trigger it?
By basically confusing the UI. You have to rapidly mash the place marker button on your map screen while simultaneously bringing up the map screen itself.
Okay, mashing keys while opening a menu? Sounds about right.
If you do it right, the little text box prompt appears, name your custom marker, or whatever.
Yeah.
But because of the way you mash the inputs, this prompt appearing freezes everything in the game world. Enemies stop moving, physics halts, timers pause, everything except you. You can still move around, albeit in that slightly weird pick-boy-up movement mode.
So you can just walk past enemies, navigate traps safely.
Exactly. It's amazing for getting through particularly dangerous areas or setting up precise positioning for another glitch without being bothered by, say, a deathclaw trying to rip your face off.
But you said it was dangerous. What's the catch?
The world loading. Because time is stopped, the game's script for loading new map chunks or detailed assets as you move into a new area is also frozen.
Ooh, so if you walk too far...
You walk right into an unloaded void or a low detail area, and the game tries to load the proper assets, realizes it can't because the script is frozen, and boom, instant crash to desktop.
So you have to know exactly how far you can move before the game gives up.
Precisely. You can only use time stop for short distances or within self-contained areas where no major loading triggers will be crossed. It's playing chicken with the engine's stability.
Right. One last one, the simplest but maybe most pervasive, text mashing.
Ah, yes. The bane of RPG dialogue. We all know how slow those text boxes can fill sometimes, right? Waiting for the NPC to finish their line before you can click continue.
Torture, especially on repeat playthroughs.
Speedrunners bypass this with pure input spam by mashing both the enter key and the left mouse button simultaneously and rapidly.
You just force the text to scroll faster.
Significantly faster. You're essentially sending dialogue advanced commands more frequently than the game expects, making the text fly by.
Doesn't seem like a huge time save per dialogue box, but
Yeah. Across an entire run, with hundreds or thousands of lines of dialogue. Those fractions of a second add up to minutes, especially in longer categories like all quests.
But there's a risk here too, right? It's not free time save.
Definitely not. Especially in critical early game conversations, like the whole character creation sequence with Doc Mitchell at the start of New Vegas.
What happens if you mash too fast there?
You can accidentally skip over a crucial line or prompt that contains a hidden script trigger. Maybe the trigger that's supposed to assign your starting stats or advance the quest stage properly. If you skip that trigger by mashing too aggressively.
The game doesn't know what to do next.
Exactly. You can get soft-locked, stuck with no way to progress, stats may be messed up. Your entire run ruined right at the beginning because you got impatient with the dialogue. So even the simplest glitch carries a potential run-ending risk. Hashtag outro. So when you step back and look at that 13-minute Fallout 3 run, yeah, maybe the visuals are just you flying through gray textures sometimes. But you're not watching boring walking. You're not watching someone just skip cutscenes.
No, you're watching something else entirely.
You are watching the end result of literally years, maybe over a decade, of collective community effort. Thousands of hours spent reverse engineering, testing, failing, and finally mastering a fundamentally broken game engine.
The runner performing that run, they're executing this insane symphony of physics-defying inputs, many times down to the single frame, 160th of a second.
It's based on engine knowledge so obscure, so specific, it probably rivals what the original developers knew. I mean, the technical skill, the routing knowledge, the sheer consistency required to chain all those unstable glitches together without crashing. It's immense, even if the result just looks like bouncing off a wall.
Right, so we've really dug into the how of the super fast runs, the insane mechanical skill needed to wrestle the Gamebryo engine into submission. And we've also seen how the longer, maybe more watchable runs require a totally different kind of genius.
Yeah, that strategic depth planning dialogue checks, managing inventory for clipping tricks, routing through huge quest chains efficiently. It's a different skill set, but just as impressive.
And that's where we're headed in the next deep dive, right? We've laid the foundation, talk theory, explain the core glitches.
Exactly. Next time, we're going to pull back the curtain even further, look at the actual routes. How do they string these glitches together step by step? What are the specific optimizations for those marathon categories like 100%?
And we'll get into some other classic Bethesda jank like item duplication glitches, manipulating faction reputation, all the stuff needed for total Wasteland domination at speed.
It's going to be fun. More beautiful brokenness.
Definitely. But it leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty interesting question to chew on, doesn't it? When optimization gets this extreme, when you strip away the core gameplay, the combat, the exploration, the story, and replace it with menu manipulation, OOB navigation, and abusing engine flaws, at what point does the speedrun stop being like a celebration of the game?
And start becoming just a high-level stress test of human reflexes against a very specific, very fragile piece of software.
Yeah. So the final thought for you is this. What do you actually value more in watching someone master a game? Is it the absolute technically perfect, physics-breaking speed, even if it looks kind of weird or boring?
Or is it the 4-hour strategic marathon, where the main challenge is navigating dialogue trees and managing inventory, which might feel closer to the game's spirit, but lacks that raw, glitch-fueled velocity?
When does optimization enhance the experience, and when does it strip away the soul? Something to think about.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you thought we were completely done analyzing how this community of well, dedicated code breakers managed to just like vaporize a 100-hour RPG.
Yeah, in under 24 minutes.
In under 24 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were dead wrong. Last time, we sort of set the stage right for you, the learner. We talked about the colossal effort needed even to think about finishing Fallout 3 fast.
That huge, sprawling game.
Exactly, this post-apocalyptic labyrinth.
Yeah.
Finishing it faster than, well, faster than it takes most people to get through this intro.
Pretty much. And yeah, we're past just the theory now, the concept of running fast. Now, in part 2, we're really diving deep. We're talking the dark arts.
Okay.
The actual mechanical exploits, the code-breaking toolkit that really defines the modern speedrun.
So this isn't just about, like, walking quickly through the wasteland.
No, not at all. This is about strategically ripping apart the very fabric of the Gamebryo engine, which, as we know, is famously unstable.
Built on hope and duct tape, basically. So our mission today is to give you the actual blueprints, the technical stuff.
Right.
We need to know precisely how a game built, like the community sources keep saying, on prayers and mismatched asset loading.
Yeah, or kindergarten glue and glitter.
How that can be so systematically obliterated.
Yeah.
Because here's that core paradox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most casual players, they sink dozens, maybe hundreds of hours into one playthrough. Easy.
Oh, easily. 300 plus hours isn't uncommon for some folks just exploring.
And yet the world record for the main quest, any percent, is 23 minutes and 55 seconds. Bubbles del Fuego.
It's just mind-boggling, and the sources, the data from the speedrunning community really highlight that gap.
Between casual play and this optimization.
Exactly. You've got players finishing the game accidentally at level 9, maybe level 12.
Yeah.
Just because they were so focused on find dad, total tunnel vision.
Right, missing half the game.
While the record holders are literally weaponizing quick saves, frame-perfect inputs to phase through walls.
Making the actual world feel optional.
It really is a study in system mastery, deep system mastery.
Okay, let's try and unpack this logically.
Yeah.
Before we get into the actual glitch toolkit, let's define the challenge properly.
Yeah.
Speedrunning isn't just one thing, right? It's a spectrum.
Yeah, definitely. The community basically splits into 2 main camps, 2 big approaches, any percent and 100%.
Okay.
Any percent is that pure sprint. Main quest, get to the end credits, use absolutely anything.
Anything goes.
Yeah, the most volatile, game-breaking glitches you can find. That's your sub-24-minute run. That's the Bubbles del Fuego record.
The monster run. Okay, and then the other side.
Then you have the 100% run, which, if any percent, is the 100-meter dash. 100% is like an Ironman triathlon of pure suffering.
Okay, that sounds intense.
It is. The current world record is held by its Jabo. It's 3 hours, 35 minutes, and 52 seconds.
3.5 hours for 100%. That still sounds incredibly fast for Fallout 3.
It is. And his goal, his personal target, is apparently getting it down to 3.3 flat, which is wildly ambitious.
Wow. So what does 100% actually mean in this context? Because in a Bethesda game, 100% could mean, well, almost anything.
That's what's so fascinating, and it shows how ruthlessly efficient the community is. The definition is surprisingly selective.
Yeah.
They can't just say collect every single item or visit every location. That'd be impossible to track, impossible to verify, consistently run to run.
Right, it wouldn't be competitive, so they need clear goalposts.
Exactly, verifiable metrics. So according to its Jabo and other top runners, 100% means hitting these specific, huge milestones.
Lay them out for us.
Okay, all 58 base game quests, all 5 DLCs, plus all the quests associated with those DLCs, and collecting all 20 bobbleheads scattered around.
That's it. 58 quests, 5 DLC quest lines, 20 bobbleheads.
That's the defined, codified path for 100%.
Just thinking about that. 58 quests, 5 full DLCs in 3.5 hours.
It sounds completely insane, right?
Yeah.
Until you realize they're still heavily abusing glitches, even in the 100% run. It's not glitchless by any stretch.
Okay. So glitches are still fundamental even here.
Absolutely. And this is where we see what they choose to leave out. The stuff that makes the run merely, agonizing instead of literally infinite.
Okay, so what's not included in this 100% definition? This is key for anyone studying this.
Right. It does not include collecting all the skill books.
Of which there are hundreds.
Literally hundreds, scattered everywhere, impossible to track efficiently. And it also doesn't include collecting all the Nuka-Cola quantums for that side quest.
Okay, so no skill books, no quantums. Why leave those out? Just too time-consuming.
Massively. Here's the kicker. The runners estimate that adding just the skill books and the quantums would add something like 7 hours to the runtime.
7 hours?
Yeah.
On top of the 3.5?
Yeah. So the community set these limits. They exclude hundreds of these smaller collectibles to make 100% actually achievable, by humans.
So they're focusing on the big game track milestones. Quests, DLC completion, bobbleheads.
Basically, yeah. The stuff the game itself recognizes as major progress markers.
Okay, let's just pause on that. If you compare that 3-hour, 35-minute, 100% record, which uses glitches, to what runners estimate a truly glitchless, legitimate 100% run would take.
Which one source pegged at like 12 to 14 hours minimum?
12 to 14 hours. So the glitches they're using are cutting out 10 hours. More
than 10 hours, yeah. An entire workday just vanished from the runtime purely through mastering engine flaws.
That kind of validates the whole approach, doesn't it?
I think it does. That massive difference is why you can't just call them cheaters.
Right.
The necessity of these glitches to shave off 10 hours proves they're doing something else. They're mechanical experts. They're like forensic glitch hunters.
Understanding the engine better than the devs sometimes.
Probably. They're basically turning a 14-hour grind into this tight, optimized 3.5-hour route. You're not even playing the same game at that point.
It's like solving a puzzle built on a really shaky foundation.
Perfectly put.
Okay, enough about time comparisons. Let's get into the tools, the actual techniques they use to pull this off. This is where it gets really technical, right? The quick save, quick load stuff.
Yes, the QSQL Nexus. Quick load. This is like the original sin of the Gamebryo engine.
Affects pretty much all the modern Bethesda games, right? Skyrim, Fallout 4.
Yep. It's the engine's biggest weakness. It's kryptonite. Basically, when the game saves, it tries to capture everything, player state, physics, quests. When it loads, it tries to slam all that data back instantly.
And that rapid load causes instability.
Think of it like a brief flashbang hitting the code, a flicker where things can go wrong or be manipulated.
So the whole trick relies on the game freezing for the save, then reloading that state while also processing an action the player did on that exact frame.
That's the core mechanism, yeah. And the primary use, speed, obviously, and bypassing the story.
Let's start with bypassing the story. Dialogue skipping. Text mashing, they call it.
Right, you're literally just spamming the quick save and quick load keys, usually F5 and F9 on PC, or maybe mouse center binds.
Mashing them simultaneously.
Yeah, over and over. As an NPC tries to talk to you, the game tries to start the dialogue script, but the rapid QSQL keeps interrupting that script before it can advance to the next line or lock you in place.
And this is used right from the very start of the any percent run.
Absolutely critical. Runners don't hit new game. Ever.
Why not?
Because they load a pre-made save file the instant they would normally gain control inside Vault 101.
Just to skip what?
To skip that entire 2-minute unskippable opening cinematic, the one explaining the vault, the history, all that lore setup.
2 minutes is an eternity in a 23-minute run.
Exactly. If they started a new game every time, they'd add 2 minutes to every single attempt. Unacceptable.
Wow. And they use it elsewhere too.
Constantly. During the birthday party sequence in the vault, you see the screen just flickering black repeatedly.
They had the QSQL happening
Dozens of times. They're skipping every single line of dialogue, every interaction, until they can finally run out of the vault.
Just mash the keys until Liam Neeson shuts up and lets you leave.
Yeah.
Pure mechanical efficiency.
It really is. Forget the birthday cake, just get me to the Wasteland. But QSQL isn't just for dialogue. The really game-breaking part is load clipping, wall facing.
Okay, this is the one where they go through solid objects. How does that work?
So load clipping lets you phase through walls, boundaries, bits of geometry. The theory is pretty solid. You wedge your character model against something solid.
Like a wall or a rock.
Yeah, or some piece of scenery. Push against it. Then you execute a quick load while pushing.
Okay.
For a split second, the game engine gets confused. It loads your position, sees you're inside a solid object because you were pushing into it when you save loaded, and it doesn't know what to do.
Should push you out, keep you in.
Exactly. It can't resolve the collision properly. And when the engine panics like that,
It defaults to a safety measure.
precisely, it's a built-in failsafe.
Yeah.
If the game thinks you're out of bounds or stuck in geometry, instead of crashing, which would be bad, it executes a little subroutine. It just teleports or clips the player to the nearest default predefined map marker, usually the entrance or exit point for that specific area or cell.
Ah, okay. So you trick the game into thinking you're lost, and it helpfully puts you by the door.
Pretty much. The sources give a great example, crediting a runner named Ranarith for finding a lot of these.
The bathroom stall one?
Yeah, you get wedged between like the bathroom stalls and a solid wall in one of the early vault sections. You push forward, mash QSQL, and boom, the game forces you through the wall and instantly snaps you right next to the level exit door.
Saving how much time?
Like 30 seconds of running back through corridors you just came from. It doesn't sound like much, but you do that a few times.
It adds up fast in a short run.
Definitely. The key is finding those weak spots in the geometry, usually where two different assets meet, a little seam.
So they're literally mapping the collision mesh weaknesses.
Yeah, the community collaboration is huge here. Finding these spots, sharing them, it's constant research into the game's flaws. They're not just playing, they're performing vulnerability assessments on the engine.
Okay, that's wild. Now, let's move on to maybe the most bizarre one. The one that sounds completely counterintuitive. Speed cripple.
Speed cripple. Yes. This is the holy grail for movement in any percent.
Increases speed by how much?
By a massive 50 to 60%. So you're moving at 150, 160% of normal run speed.
Permanently.
Permanently, until when?
Pretty much until you transition to a new area or load zone that sometimes resets the character state. But for long stretches, you're fast.
Okay, the setup sounds nuts. It involves self-harm.
It does. It's a masterpiece of precise self-destruction.
Yeah.
The runner has to deliberately damage themselves,
Oh.
usually with explosives. A carefully placed frag mine, maybe a specific grenade, something with low predictable damage. The goal is to cripple one or both of their characters' legs.
Okay, ouch. Then what? Then, and this is the make or break run killing part, they have to hit quick load on the exact same frame that the game registers the leg breaking internally.
The exact frame.
Down to the millisecond. If you're early, nothing happens. If you're late, you just load with crippled legs. You miss that tiny window, the run's dead, restart.
I can't even imagine the frustration, practicing that over and over.
Hundreds, maybe thousands of attempts to get consistent. So what happens when they nail it? Why does breaking your legs make you faster?
Yeah, explain the paradox here.
Okay, so the game has this hidden mechanic. When your leg gets crippled, obviously your base speed tanks, right? You limp.
Makes sense.
But internally, there seems to be a small speed factor or multiplier that gets applied. Maybe it was intended to help with physics calculations, or maybe, bizarrely, to help the player get to help faster.
Yeah.
It's unclear why it exists.
Okay, so a hidden speed boost triggers when you get crippled.
Exactly. The game briefly processes leg broken and applies this hidden speed factor. But that frame-perfect quick load kicks in immediately. The quick load restores your health, your limb status, everything back to the save state before the cripple effect fully takes hold visually or mechanically.
So the game says, apply speed factor. But then the load says, wait, legs are fine.
Precisely. The engine essentially gets confused. It applies the speed factor, but then decouples it from the actual crippled status because the load reverted the health state.
So you end up with your normal base speed, plus this orphan cripple repair speed factor that never got turned off because your legs are actually fine now.
You got it. It's a permanent state of beneficial computational confusion.
That's genius, you know,
Yeah.
in a really broken way.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
You're exploiting the load order priority of character status data. It's stable because it's tricking the game's own internal logic, like fooling your GPS into giving you a permanent rocket boost because it thought you were stuck in mud for a nanosecond.
Okay, permanent speed boost from speed cripple, wall phasing from load clipping.
Yeah.
But they still need to move fast between clips, right? Especially indoors.
Yep. Clipping isn't always an option, especially in tight corridors or areas with lots of small objects. That's where stop hopping comes in.
Stop hopping. This sounds like another movement tech.
It is. It's a complex technique to build and maintain momentum beyond even the speed cripple boost, though it can be used without it too. It's crucial inside places like Vault 101 early on. It's kind of like an evolution of block boosting from older Bethesda games.
How does it work mechanically? Is it a permanent buff like speed cripple?
No, this one requires constant, precise input. It's about building momentum. The sequence is tricky. You jump, then you immediately release the forward movement key, like WI on PC.
Release W midair.
Yeah. Then, the instant you land, you jump again, while also quickly flicking your camera side to side.
Flicking the camera, why?
That's the block boosting part. It
Yeah.
subtly manipulates the physics engine's momentum calculations. Don't ask me the deep math, but it works.
So it's not a glitch state, it's exploiting the intended momentum physics.
Pretty much. Executed perfectly, jump after jump, releasing W, flicking the camera. You build up speed to maybe 1.6 times base movement.
On top of speed cripple.
It can stack, yeah. Though it's mainly used when speed cripple isn't active yet, or in areas where pure running isn't optimal, but it requires incredible timing and stamina. Finger dexterity?
I bet. Especially if you mess up one jump.
Kills the momentum instantly. There's that quote from a runner who nailed a tough stop-hopping sequence. I am not Neo, I am a god at speedrunning.
Huh. You'd feel like it. Okay, one more major tool. Weaponizing physics objects. The truck push.
Right, the truck push. This shows how little the game's physics rules sometimes matter. It's a sequence break using movable environment objects.
Like that old Nuka-Cola truck.
Exactly. The specific target is usually James, your father, early in the game. You need him to get to a certain spot to trigger the next quest stage.
But you don't wait for him to walk there.
Hell no. You use the Nuka-Cola truck's physics model to literally push his character model.
Just nudge him.
You sort of sandwich him between the truck and maybe a wall, or just keep bumping him. Then you repeatedly quick save and quick load while pushing.
Ah, the Q sequel again. Why does that help push him?
Because every time you load, the game tries to resolve the collision between the truck, the player, and the NPC model. And these repeated micro-calculations seem to nudge the NPC forward bit by bit.
So you're physically forcing Liam Neeson's character model across the room with a truck and save spamming.
Until he clips into the invisible trigger zone that advances the quest, it bypasses huge chunks of dialogue, maybe entire quest steps.
Proving that physics are more like suggestions.
Exactly. It's exploiting physics instability to fundamentally break the narrative progression. Get the NTC where he needs to be way before the story says he should be there.
Okay, so we've laid it out. Speed cripple, load clipping, truck pushing. The records depend entirely on breaking the game in these very specific ways.
Fundamentally, yes.
Which brings us to the big argument. The philosophical firefight in the community. Is this skill? Or is it just finding loopholes? Is glitching different from cheating?
Oh, yeah. It's a huge point of contention. Deeply polarized views. The sources show a really clear divide.
You got the purist camp.
Definitely. Strong opinions there. We saw comments on, like, a 30-minute run video, just immediately dismissing it. Not a true speedrun.
Why? Because glitches were used.
Yeah. The argument is that using exploits like Speed Cripple isn't impressive. It's just glitching through speedruns, basically equating it to cheating.
Okay, but wait. I need to push back on that a bit. If you are performing these incredibly difficult, frame-perfect inputs...
Like the Speed Cripple setup.
Yeah. Deliberately damaging yourself, hitting a single frame window.
Yeah.
How is that not skill? How is that the same as just typing a cheat code or using a trainer to set your speed to 160%?
That's the absolute core of the runner's defense.
The result is the same faster movement, but the method seems worlds apart.
And that's the distinction the speedrunning community fiercely maintains. Exploiting a known, reproducible glitch that exists inside the game's own code.
Using the game's own broken tools against itself.
Right. That's seen as fundamentally different from using external tools, mods, cheats, trainers that directly modify game data from the outside.
It's an internal vulnerability versus an external modification.
Exactly. It's a Jabo put it clearly. I am abusing the game's coding to simply complete the game faster. They're using the engine's inherent instability, not injecting something new.
So, for the run to be legitimate within the community rules, the exploit has to be part of the software itself, however broken.
That seems to be the crucial line. And let's be honest, the sources are full of jokes about how broken Gamebryo is anyway.
Kindergarten glue and a fuck ton of glitter, made on duct tape.
Yeah. If you sign up to speedrun Fallout 3, you're kind of signing up to wrestle with this famously unstable engine. The glitches are almost part of the expected playing field.
The community focus isn't just on execution, but on the discovery too, right?
Huge part of it. The collaboration in finding these glitches and shortcuts to cut time off records, it's a continuous collective dissection of the game's weaknesses.
Okay, so exploiting internal flaws is generally accepted within the speedrun rules. Cheating is using external tools. That's the line.
That's the line they draw, yeah.
Now, let's look at how this time is everything mentality impacts something core to RPGs. Character builds. SGCCIAL, stats, perks. Surely that matters.
You'd think so, but in a top-tier speedrun, all that careful role-playing, completely out the window.
Or so, what do they prioritize?
Input minimization, pure mechanical efficiency, even in character creation.
Input minimization, what does that mean?
Okay, get this. Runners often dump their initial SPECIAL points into strength.
Okay, makes sense. Carry weight, maybe melee.
Nope. Nothing to do with gameplay stats. It's because strength is physically the fastest attribute to click and assign points to in the character creation menu.
You can't.
Dead serious. They've timed it. Clicking strength repeatedly saves a few seconds over distributing points more evenly or picking something else.
That is.
Yep.
That's optimizing the menu interaction itself. Next level metagaming.
It really is finger movement efficiency. After that initial dump for menu speed, where do the other points go?
Max endurance and intelligence seem common. Why those?
Not for skills checks or XP gain, really. It's for pure mechanical survivability.
Meaning?
High endurance means more health and better resistance, especially to radiation. They're running through highly irradiated areas, taking constant rads, getting shot at by enemies.
All while trying to do frame-perfect movement tricks.
Exactly. They cannot afford to die. That's a reset. They can't even afford to slow down much to heal. So high endurance just lets them absorb more punishment while maintaining speed.
So the build isn't about combat effectiveness, it's about surviving the run itself. Surviving the physics, the radiation, the chaos, while moving at 160% speed.
Precisely. The irony is huge. Your character build is optimized for menu speed and damage absorption during high-speed traversal. Traditional RPG skills, small guns, energy weapons, lockpicks, speech, almost totally irrelevant to the any % time goal.
You're building a character to survive the engine, not the wasteland threats.
That's a great way to put it.
But, okay, not everyone is Bubbles Del Fuego shooting for 23 minutes. There's a middle ground. People doing their own casual speedruns.
Oh, definitely. And this reflects that the joy isn't only about the world record. It's about personal optimization, solving the puzzle your own way.
So people set their own rules.
Yeah, lots of user-defined challenges. We see things like no glitches runs, though glitch can be debated. No pausing.
No pausing at all.
One user specifically clarified that included no bathroom breaks. If you gotta go, you lose time.
That's dedication. What else? No guides.
Yeah, figuring out the route yourself. But even in these no glitch runs, they often allow certain things.
Like what? What's considered a trick rather than a glitch?
Fast travel is almost always allowed once a location is discovered. And sequence breaks that don't involve obvious physics glitches are usually okay. The big one is running straight to Vault 112 Smith Casey's garage pretty early on.
Lets you find Dad much sooner.
Right, bypassing the whole intended path through GNR, Three Dog, Rivet City, it skips a huge chunk of the main quest progression just by knowing where to go.
So even self-imposed no glitch runs embrace optimization and sequence breaking.
It shows the core appeal, right? Defining your own constraints and finding the fastest path within them, the personal challenge of optimization.
Okay, this brings us to maybe the funniest irony. We've been talking about these super optimized runs, but a lot of casual players, maybe even some listeners right now, might have accidentally done their own speedrun without realizing it.
It's incredibly common, judging by the sources. So many people reported finishing Fallout 3 on their very first playthrough at a really low level.
Like level 9. Level 14.
Yeah, shockingly low. In a game designed to take you to level 20, 30, or beyond with DLCs. They basically speedran the main quest by accident.
Why? In this huge open world, why would people not explore?
Several reasons came up. A big one was just lack of experience with this type of game.
Coming from more linear games.
Yeah, FPS players, people used to guided experiences. They didn't realize the side stuff was the main draw for many. They saw Find Dad and just did that exclusively.
Laser focus on the main objective marker.
Total tunnel vision. Another factor was fear. Some players mentioned being genuinely scared of the dark, creepy locations.
Like the vaults, the metro tunnels.
Exactly. Quote from one user, "I couldn't give a shit about side quests because I was scared as hell of vaults and tunnels, so I quickly buzzed my way through the main quest, trying to stay outside."
So fear pushed them along the main path faster. Wow.
And that extreme focus means they unintentionally skip massive parts of the game's lore and world building.
Just walk right past major characters or locations.
Absolutely. People reported walking right by Megaton.
The town with the giant atomic bomb in the middle.
Yep. Just didn't see it or didn't think to stop. Others found Vault 112, where Dad is, in like 40 minutes just by wandering the wasteland.
Completely bypassing the intended breadcrumb trail.
Totally skipping the guidance the game tries to give you through Galaxy News Radio and the Brotherhood of Steel.
So they missed Three Dog. Missed meeting the Brotherhood properly.
Several people said exactly that. They got to Rivet City somehow, then suddenly they're fighting the Enclave later on, having completely missed the setup for who these factions even are.
That must have been such a confusing playthrough. Finishing the game but having no idea about the world's context.
It sounds like it was. People said they felt like they had to play it again a second time just to actually see the content and understand the story they'd blasted past.
The game throws exploration hooks at you, but you have that accidental speedrunner mindset.
You can just ignore them all and follow the main quest arrow straight to the end credits.
And the contrast between that accidental fast playthrough and a deliberate casual one is stark too.
Oh yeah. One user mentioned their first intentional non-speedrun playthrough took them 30 hours and 21 minutes.
Which sounds pretty reasonable for a first deep dive.
Reasonable, yeah. But the response from someone in the speedrunning community was pure sarcasm. Wow, you're only over 29 hours slower than him, the record holder? Try harder.
Ouch. But it highlights that fundamental difference in approach.
Totally. 30 hours of immersion, exploration, role-playing versus a world where 30 minutes is slow and every microsecond counts. They're not even playing the same conceptual game.
One is experiencing a world, the other is executing a complex, glitch-fueled obstacle course against the engine itself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hashtag tag outro.
So, okay, we've gone deep. We've looked at the tech, the philosophy, the accidental speedsters. What did this all mean? Especially for you, the learner, listening to all this.
Well, I think the big takeaway is that speedrunning Fallout 3 at the highest level isn't really about being a good gamer in the traditional sense. You know, aiming, shooting, tactical decisions.
Yeah, it's not about VATS headshots.
Not at all. It's about being a brilliant detective, or maybe a demolitions expert. Someone who understands the deepest, most broken parts of the Gamebryo engine's physics and logic.
You're not fighting super mutants. You're fighting the code.
Exactly. And the lesson there maybe is about what true mastery of a system looks like.
It's not just following the rules.
Often, it's understanding the rules so incredibly well that you know precisely how and where you can deliberately break them. Efficiently, consistently.
These runners have studied load triggers, collision meshes, status effect priorities, to the point where they can force errors on demand.
Yeah, turning the engine's weaknesses into their strengths.
And it's wild that records still fall, even now. On this old, creaky engine, Bubbles Del Fuego apparently said he wouldn't try to beat his own 23.55 record unless, quote, something big is found.
Meaning a whole new glitch, a new exploit.
A fundamentally new way to break the game even further, which leads to our final thought, something for you to mull over.
We've seen load clipping, speed cripple, stop hopping, all these tricks built on the known flaws of Gamebryo. They got the any percent time down under 24 minutes.
But the hunt never stops. This community is relentless. They're always digging, always testing, always looking for that next vulnerability.
So the question is, how long will it take? How long until they find that next world-breaking, physics-defying glitch? Maybe something totally unexpected, like a memory overflow exploit or a way to corrupt quest flags.
Something that takes the Fallout 3 any percent time down even further, maybe into the single digits, turning this epic RPG into like a sub 10-minute interactive cutscene.
It sounds absurd, but given the history, is it impossible? That's the bleeding edge of competitive code breaking. And that's where we'll leave it for this deep dive.